Hey everyone! So today I wanted to talk to you about having students self-assess, and I wanted to share with you the way I get my students to self-assess themselves throughout the school year. So one of the first things that I introduce my students to is 4 levels of understanding. And I have these posters in my classroom blown up to 8.5 by 11, but they have levels 4, 3, 2, and 1 to show understanding. And I got this off of TPT from Teaching in Carnegie's, and I'll link it down below. But what I do at the very beginning of the year when we first start going over material, I introduce what this system is. So a 4, if students are going to rate themselves as a 4, they are on point and can teach this topic to others. If they rate themselves as a 3, they can do it by themselves, but they may not feel confident enough to quite teach it to somebody else. 2, a little stuck, need some help or an example. And then a 1, I'm starting to understand, but I'm still confused. And so when I first introduce this to students, I let them know that it is okay to be a 1. And especially when we're first starting to learn a new concept, a 1 is really what I expect them to be. I don't expect them to be a master at it yet, or to have mastered that particular standard yet, whatever we're going over. And so how I make sure to keep my students doing this all the time, continuously, is when I make handouts. So this is one that I use when we go over Freytag Pyramid. And when I'm checking to see if they have understood the information, I have a rate yourself section right here on the handout that I made. So I already have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and students know, put your name after you get done. Before you turn this in, make sure you've rated yourself. And I'm clear with my students, if you rate yourself a 1, it's not going to affect your grade whatsoever. In fact, I don't even grade these. I check them, and I check to see their understanding. So if they are understanding it, really I use the same scale that they're using it. If it looks like they're at a 4, 3, a 2, or a 1. And in my grade book, I'll mark down what I would give them based on this practice that they've done. And I also mark down where they think they are within this practice. So what this really helps me to do is look and see, okay, how confident are they with this topic, and how does their confidence level line up with their actual level that they're showing me on the classwork that they're doing. And I find that a lot of times students really seem to understand it, but they want to rate themselves a little lower. And that helps me when I work in small group with them, especially if they're continuously like showing themselves as a 1 or 2 on a concept, and I'm working with those 1 and 2 students, and I talk through with them and have them talk through with me, what their thinking is, why, aren't you so confident when it looks like you are to me, or, maybe it's the opposite end where they think they're really confident, but they really don't know it. In my experience though, I have found that most of the time students are really honest with themselves, and they know themselves, and they know if they have it or they don't, especially as we do this going in throughout the school year. And I constantly bring them back up to the posters that I have hanging on my wall with the different succulents on them. And if I don't already have a pre-made rate yourself section on a handout that I give them, like I do on this one, I may just have them write what they would score themselves by their name and circle it. But that's kind of one of the things I do remind them about, is make sure you rate yourself before you turn your paper in when we are doing things that are just practice, right when we are starting to learn a concept. So this is something that's worked really well for me, especially this past year. I was really adamant about using it all the time. It helped me figure out what I needed to go back and reteach, what I needed to just pull some students for small group, and maybe what I needed to just redo completely with whole group if students weren't getting it in that learning process before they were actually tested on the subject or given a project to do or something like that, where they were going to actually receive a grade. So I would love to know what ways you get your students to self-assess themselves and their levels of understanding. So please comment down below, and thank you for watching. Bye.